The All Blacks are so tough to play because they're such a tough opponent. I mean, I consider them to be the world's best. And there's just so many players, and they've just got such a squad of depth that challenges you all the time.
A lot of people talk about all teams, great teams have great moments, and that game was it for us, I think.
The work was done in the week before, and the mental preparation, the physical preparation that week. I've never seen an Australian side prepare with the ferocity, with the focus, with the attitude.
And I was really pleased as a captain of that team when they took it upon themselves every day to go out in the afternoon to train. I think it was the Thursday when I was in the hotel and the news came back that the boys had just got back and there'd been a punch-up.
We'd had a little scuffle at training beforehand, and Poitevin and myself had to go at each other, and Krause comes in over the top, and you know, it was just one of those really intense weeks.
You know, there were fights at training, there were fist fights. It was people watching us train were just going, "What are these guys doing? This is nuts."
And I just thought, it's perfect. The boys are on a hot tin roof. They're ready to go. I just knew everything had been said. You know, sometimes the best words you can say as a captain are bugger all, because you know that the guys are ready to strut their stuff.
When that side left the dressing room for that semi-final, there was just this confidence.
We had a succession of scrums right on our own try line, right on half-time, that if the All Blacks scored at that stage, it could have really put a bit of a dent into us, and it would have perhaps given them that enthusiasm to come out there and beat us in the second half.
If a team was in the zone, that Aussie team that day, nothing ever came near that.
And while we probably didn't have as good a scrum as the All Blacks, those scrums we held, and we held with parity, and we didn't go back 1 inch. And to me, that was a moment where I really felt we could win this game.
I've played in a lot of great games over a long period. That was the greatest game I played in for the historical significance. It got us into the World Cup final. It was the first time ever that we'd seen Australia and New Zealand play in a neutral ground outside of Australia and New Zealand for a big game.
You know when you're approaching an All Blacks match is that you know that you're in for probably the hardest game you've played. So it's always a challenging experience, but it's always an exciting one too.
I remember driving back from England, from London to Wales that morning, to Cardiff, and sitting on the bus, and the management were in another bus, and they were tactically working out what we're going to do against the All Blacks. We were talking about the All Blacks, looking forward to watching the game.
And we had a room where you could watch the semi-final, the other semi-final.
You watch the first 20, 30 minutes of the game, the All Blacks all of a sudden raced away to this big lead, so we then just didn't really take much notice.
The All Blacks were up by 14 points, I think, at half-time, or whatever it was. They looked even better in the start of the second half.
And as expected, it was 24, not many, I think, after sort of 50, 55 minutes. And then I think it was Christophe Lamazon was the 10, and field goal, penalty goal, field goal. And all of a sudden they just sort of clawed their way back into it, 3-6-9-12.
Bit by bit. And I'd be lying if I said that we weren't cheering the French on.
With 15 minutes to go, there was about 40 people glued around the television watching this game.
I could hear the cheering and roar of the boys every time the French did something well or scored.
And then a try came through, and you could sort of see New Zealand sort of looking around, scratching their heads.
I couldn't believe it, but the boys were absolutely ecstatic.
But with 5 minutes to go of that match, and we knew the French were home, it was just deathly silence in the team rooms.
The look went from joy cheering them on to this realisation. If they can do that against the All Blacks, they can do that against us or anyone.
You know, on any given day, you know, out of 100 games, New Zealand would beat France 98 times. You know, it just happened to be that France played well, everything come together. So yeah, it was a great feeling. But in saying that, you know, we still had to win the final.
Yeah, I'm one of the few players, and I very proudly say, because I don't think there's too many that can say it, that I've played New Zealand 19 times, and I've beaten them more times than they beat me. 10-9 and 1 up.